Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another review by Player 2. And today I'm going to be reviewing Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. As you can see, I fully customized my big boss. He looks great. And without further ado, I'd like to get into this review with a different type of setup. I want to be covering this game today by likes and dislikes because I used to do a bunch of different sub-segments and it confused me a lot in the reviews. And I had to do multiple takes of them. It was very inconvenient. This time I'm going to do something a little more off the cuff. Just tell you likes, dislikes, and that'll be it. What stands out to me is what I'll be mentioning. So without further ado, I'll say that 50 times in this review. Let's get started. What I like about the game, first of all, the graphics are phenomenal. The game runs at 60 frames per second. It's beautiful. That's fucking awesome. Yeah, it's pretty basic. You don't really need to talk in depth about the graphics. The textures look great, all that good shit. Another thing I like about the game is the buddy system. Instead of going on missions alone, you'll be able to take a buddy with you. And these buddies include D-Dog, Quiet, D-Walker, who sucks, and who am I forgetting? D-Horse. Basically, D-Horse is the best vehicle in the game. D-Dog is like a mobile radar, if you can believe it. He points out all enemies that are near you who are basically an immediate threat. And Quiet is a scout/sniper who can actually aid you in battle. So, like, if you get discovered and you just want to kill everyone, Quiet's basically your go-to gal. She's my favorite follower personally because she can carry lethal and non-lethal weapons and have a very powerful sniper rifle to help you with bosses. Moving on, the gameplay of the game is the best gameplay in any Metal Gear Solid game, period. It is the best in the series as far as gameplay goes. You have more options, you have special items that you can basically build and progress in the game. And you can choose from a variety style of play. You can be super aggressive, you can be super sneaky. Now granted, you will be punished for playing super aggro all the time, I believe so. Like some missions will give you a higher score for stealth, but that's neither here nor there. If you ignore that, you'll probably have more fun anyways. Another thing I love about this game is the progression. The progression. I'm having trouble speaking here, let me take a drink. A little dehydrated this morning. The progression in this game is the best progression I think I've ever had in a game before. I might be saying that for no reason, but basically you can upgrade your weapons, you can customize them, you can upgrade your base and see like the physical changes from the base. And as you upgrade, you unlock more weapons, you can, customize them. You can add suppressors to some guns that might not have suppressors. You can mix parts up. So say there's a foregrip that you like on a gun better than the foregrip that's currently on your weapon. You could swap them. Just a lot of cool things. And you feel like your gun is your own creation when you're done with it. And what else is good progression-wise? You can also level up your character. So, like, via the prosthetic arm. So you'll upgrade your prosthetic arm. This could give you enhanced mobility, quicker reload, faster crawling. So basically playing as big bosses, the better alternative. Which you can play as other Mother Base soldiers that you recruit. For example, I played as the Greedy Gopher during my gameplay sessions of the game that I recorded. Just for lulz. Just to, be like, hey, I'm not playing as Big Boss. Alright, moving on. I think I mentioned the customization. Alright. I think it's time to move on to dislikes. The things I dislike about the game, the questionable open world. And the reason I say questionable open world is because a lot of the open world in this game is space. There isn't shit to do in there. Basically, you move from outpost to outpost. And I really feel like that's just there to pad the game and make it feel longer than it actually is. I had the same problem with The Witcher 3 earlier this year. Now, another thing I dislike is the lack of story in the game. And I'm not saying the story in general, because the story is very good when it's there. There are some very compelling moments. Like, I remember I had, feels during one of the sections of the game. It was, sad and bittersweet, but it also got you pumped up at the same time. So the story there that isn't bad. The characters have great voice acting, except for Troy Baker. Troy Baker, get the fuck out of video games. Let other people eat Troy Baker. He's a good voice actor, granted, but imagine if every movie for example, had like Samuel L. Jackson in it, a very good like actor, or Daniel Washington, like one of those characters, very good actors, but you don't want them in every movie. That'd be annoying, right? Other actors should be in movies. Other people need to eat. So that's my only gripe with the actors. But what I was talking about earlier is the lack of story. There isn't like any cutscenes in the game. It's like Kojima took the feedback from Metal Gear Solid 4 and was like, well, let's do the polar opposite. And to be honest, that's not what is needed here. What is needed is a balance of both. You need a good amount of cutscenes and a good amount of gameplay. And it sucks because, like I said, the characters are very well written and interesting. The audio logs, there's a ton of audio logs in the game, by the way, are so good. Like, there was like a little spiel that like Emmerich did that like questioned the morality of what you're doing at base, and it was like really compelling. So why wasn't that a cutscene? I have no idea. It pisses me off. Moving on, the last section of the game is padded. Basically, after a big boss fight, you basically do the huge boss fight. The last section of the game is padded. Basically, you'll be going back to the same areas, doing the same shit. Like, here's a perfect example. In one mission, you rescue an old man from a mansion. And the padded mission that comes in the later half, you rescue a child from the second floor of the same mansion. And it feels like padded bullshit. And like, a lot of the gameplay from then on out feels worthless. It's like, I've done this before. This is boring. And even that, basically, there are some troops that are added to the field that pissed me off because it went against my style of play. Basically, these troops would equip heavy armor, and I couldn't kill them with my sniper rifle. I would primarily play with a sniper rifle, lethal and non-lethal. And that's how I basically went through the game. It basically was like, hey, fuck you, player 2, for wanting to play as a sniper the whole game with suppress and be smart and scout with quiet. I was like, fuck you. Whatever. Alright, since that last section of the game is padded, it really does detract from the game, but it doesn't ruin it in my opinion. And basically, I have to move on to the last disappointing, score-detracting dislike in this game. And that is, the game isn't finished. It's not done. The game was not completed. In fact, when you beat the game, when I beat the game, there was a part where I was like, did I beat the game? I didn't think I actually beat the game, so I started doing side ops. I started doing the extreme difficulty missions. I completed them all, by the way, as you can tell by my silver arm, something you unlock from completing all those missions. I was like, did I beat the game? And so I went online, and I figured out that I had beat the game, but I didn't get the secret ending. Sorry if I'm kind of yelling, but I'm passionate about my games. I didn't... you won't know when you beat the game because there's a huge plot development that's like, what the fuck? Basically, a huge conflict like happens. Like, you lose something very big, like a super weapon essentially, and you're like, am I gonna go get it back? Am I gonna go get it back? The answer is no, because the game isn't finished. So there's this huge plot hole in the game that exists, and it's never resolved. And I actually did look it up. This cutscene was in development by Kojima, but because he had the role pulled out from him from Konami, he didn't get to finish the game. So fuck that. Fuck Konami for not letting him finish his game and not letting let him make PT. I'm still fucking salty about that. I will bring this up in a Metal Gear review. God damn it. I fucking will. Fuck you, Konami. I'm a huge fan of horror, and they fucked over my life. Fuck you, Konami. Alright. Now, I forgot to mention this in the beginning of my video, but I am going to be moving on to the best Metal Gear games and the worst Metal Gear games. I have it written out. I am ready. In my opinion, okay, number 5, not Metal Gear Solid 5, but number 5, Metal Gear Solid 2 is the worst Metal Gear Solid game. Raiden was an unlikable character, though there was still some noteworthy moments. And I don't think that game was complete shit, so if that says anything about the Metal Gear series. Moving on. Metal Gear Solid 4 is the 4th on our list, basically because it's a cutscene. Like, the gameplay that you had was very good, and the boss battles were so good. But too much cutscenes. Like, you would sit there for literally an hour watching a fucking cutscene, which is obnoxious. Basically, Metal Gear Solid 4, the movie. Alright, who's in the middle of the road in Metal Gear Solid games? I gotta be honest, it's this one. Metal Gear Solid 5 is number 3 on our list because it's not a finished product. This would have been the magnum opus of Kojima, and that's what he wanted. You can tell in the first section of this game, that's what he wanted. In the first, moments of this game, or the first section, high highs, man. High highs. So good. The gameplay is fucking solid. It runs so well, even with, like, all this shit going on. Makes me sad. Alright, number 2 on our list is Metal Gear Solid 1. You can't beat the classics, and Metal Gear Solid 1 was the best PlayStation 1 game next to Silent Hill, in my opinion. And the gameplay was so compelling, even though it was pixels. And the boss battles were so clever, like change the slot of your controller. Like, that was so neat. And then, like, he read what was on your memory card and all those. That was, like, such a compelling moment for me. And it was one of the harder games I played back in that day. So Metal Gear Solid 1, good job, great voice acting, great codec conversations. Okay, final game that is going to take our number 1 slot is Metal Gear Solid 3. We didn't have any other options now, did we? So it wasn't very surprising. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater has the most compelling boss battles, most crazy story arcs, and most entertainment value out of all of them, in my honest opinion, because you had to micromanage your wounds, you had to micromanage your food. You basically had to eat in the game, and that added a skill gap. He's like, oh, I had to go hunt for food while I do this mission, but I also have to do stealth. It's just really, really clever, and I think the tank controls made it more difficult, and the game was more complex. Anyways, guys, that's it for my Metal Gear Solid countdown and my Metal Gear Solid review. Actually, hold on. I gotta put a score on this. I'm sorry. For Metal Gear Solid 5, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. You should purchase this game. This is a cultural, like, or what is it called? This is basically a game worth noting because other stealth action games are gonna be compared to this game. Always from here on out because of how this game is. It's a cultural masterpiece. Or it's of cultural significance. But I give it a 4 out of 5 because of the lack of story, and the fact that the game isn't finished pissed me off. I almost took it down to a 3.5 because of that, but I thought that would be obnoxious given how much fun I had during the first section of the game. Or the first half. So anyways, that is it. I'll be finishing up this review. I hope you had fun. I sure did. Peace.